Have you heard of the Morning Meetup? The number one community for entrepreneurs? The largest book club in America? Where 600 plus entrepreneurs get on a video call every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, every morning for the betterment of entrepreneurship. You heard of it, right? Well, click the link in my description and you can try it for $1. Just $1 for 1 week. And if you don't like it, you can leave. It's fine. But try it. You spent more than that on things you've never used and never will. So take $1 and invest in yourself. Or don't. So like it's never that long, like ever. Like my hair.
I got you clippers.
Yeah, you got me clippers. You got me I forget what the brand are, but they're big red ones with the big teeth on it, right? The one that your barber uses to cut you down before they uses the tight clippers. You got
Oh,
me.
as requested. Yes,
Yes,
I
right. It
remember
was
that.
on the Amazon wish list, which is very beneficial. But we have our times where we just look rough, and I've been delaying doing episodes of stuff mostly because we had a lot going on. You haven't been feeling well, and the simple fact that like you just can't always do it, and then you'd be like, oh well, this needs to be perfect, and this needs to be perfect, that needs to be perfect. It doesn't, right? Like if you want to do something and you have a plan to do something, just do it, and then prune it and make it better as you go, right? And a lot can be said for learning on the fly because you don't know what you don't know, especially with something like this where we're talking back and forth. This is an unknown medium, right? We talk all the time, but we're not saying half the stuff that we say to each other on this. We're just talking, right? And I think understanding our lane and where we're gonna be or where we are is not gonna be it's not gonna be a thing that we know what to do until we do it a bunch of times. And it'll get better, and it'll get better, and it'll get better. I've never seen anybody do anything over and over again intentionally and get worse at it. And I don't think we'll be any different. We just got to keep doing it. We won't release everything we do, probably, but we got to keep doing it. You got to get used to being on camera. I'm sure you're more comfortable now than you were, 2 months ago when you first did it, right? Doesn't mean you're comfortable, but for you and I who are a little shy, it's easier because we don't actually have to do it in front of an audience per se. We
Definitely.
do it and then we release it, right? And then the audience is whatever the audience is. I think that helps. It helps me anyway, because if this was on a stage somewhere with in a lounge, I'd be having all kinds of issues right now. I'd be sweating. I'd be kind of getting that cotton mouth with 2 F's, and I'd be trying to figure out where to go from here. But with this, you can get more comfortable, and I think I'm not gonna say it's easy money, but it takes the pressure off of I gotta perform, right? Because if you're performative, it's almost like art, and you're not yourself, right? And
I mean, maybe you can get to your own groove with the performance you do it so many times that you can kind of freestyle a little bit, and that's a thing in and of itself. Within the
yeah,
limitations of that art form, it's still
yeah,
you can be kind of performative. I feel like the audience, you lose an audience, maybe you got to do a little more performing, see what the audience likes. Eventually,
true.
the audience comes to you because they like what you're doing, and then you kind of come to the audience because you want to entertain them. It's a
That
little bit of give and for.
and just begging your friends to watch it. There's that too, but with that, but
Well, that's the investor tip thing where they always tell you, borrow money from your friends. And I was like, what kind of friends do you have?
it's not borrowing money
It's
from
a
your
mindset,
friends.
a different mindset that you have to.
It's got to be, but it's also you got to have those friends that understand that borrowing or giving your friend a loan is a gift, right? Because it's so much. I don't know why. I mean, we know why because we take advantage of people, but it's so much harder to pay back your friend when you borrow from them than it is, you know, Discover or Capital One, right? Like you want to, and you have the best of intentions, but because you know the person probably won't slit your throat, you're a little less dominant and well, I got to make sure he gets his money back. Like you'll do it with like $20, $500. Yeah, it'll probably take longer.
Well, it also depends on if you plan on coming back. If you want to keep that line of credit open, then you're going to want to do right by them. They're going to put it at the top of your priority list as
Yeah,
opposed to,
I always felt funny about taking money from people, right? Um, just the borrowing thing because I feel entitled, not entitled, but indebted to them in a way that I'm like, I got to make sure I do this, I got to do this, and kind of like when you want to ask your parents for money, and he's like, well, I'm just going to behave until I get this money, and for a short time afterwards, so they don't feel like they fucked up the investment, right? So you know what I mean. So it's like you have that time where you do that with your friends, but now you feel like you got to walk on eggshells. You can't be yourself because I just bought money from this person and I owe them, and if I act up, they're gonna act a fool, and I got to pay them back quicker.
I mean, you know, that's what goes with it.
It
I feel
is.
like,
No,
you
no,
got
it definitely is. It definitely is.
without those sort of those social incentives to act right.
I agree with
A
that.
lot of people ain't gonna act right. So
No,
sometimes,
you're correct. You're correct. Um, and then like we just like I said, we take advantage of our friends. We don't mean to do it, right? I think it just we kind of ease into it, and I borrowed from people before, and sometimes it's years before I paid them back, and it was never intentional, but I just never had any spare money, even though I probably bought something I didn't need at the time because whatever I borrowed put me at square one, which gives you leeway to buy a little stuff, but it didn't ever put you in a place where it's like, oh, I have enough money left over to pay them back. Because we don't do it like we're saving up for a PlayStation. We're just like, oh well, let me wait till I have another $500 so I can pay this person back. Not let me save $20 every check so I can pay this person back in a year. We don't do that. We don't do that at all. We're smarter about investing than we are about paying back our friends' money, right? Like,
it's kind of how I feel about my any debt that I owe, but
right?
not
True, true.
like I'm gonna pay myself first. I'm gonna try to invest for this.
You are.
Maybe you'll get yours back in a whole windfall.
I mean, I hear that, but at the same time, when it comes, Joe wants his money, right? So, like, we're not exactly ducking the alphabet people, right? Both. I'm talking about the IRS.
Okay, thank you. I
No,
was like, you
no,
gonna get us off this
no,
podcast
they
right away?
haven't, they
We're
haven't
not going there.
necessarily found me. Even though this podcast is going up now, I may have the ATF in my door soon. But I'm just saying, uh, the IRS, we are pretty good about making sure that we get them whatever we get them first, right?
I mean, I have learned my lessons from, I didn't need to be taught that. I didn't need the firsthand lesson. I watched and observed, and so yes, Joe, as you
Really.
call him, gets his money first. Yeah,
I just call him Joe
sometimes
because he's the current president. He wants his money. That's all I'm saying.
now, there you go. Yeah, it's the Biden. Yeah. Like Charlemagne says, some people sometimes you can you learn your lesson by watching others, and sometimes you gotta learn it the hard way. And in this
Right.
case, I chose the easier path. But
I I did
I
the
can
hard way.
understand how hard it is. I don't get my money up front like that yet. So
I get you,
when you get that money up front, it's a little bit different, a little bit more temptation to you know.
and I understand that, right? Because like I had a situation where I was young and dumb, and we were messing around with credit, and acting like credit wasn't important. And oh, I'm gonna take these student loans, and what I'm gonna be like everybody else. Like I ain't paying that, and then they just start taking your income tax because that's what happened to me. It was like 3 years in a row they took my income tax. Like, oh no, we gonna get our money, right? So, oh, we got money to give you? Yeah, thanks. I'll take that. Appreciate it. Yeah, pay down your debt a little bit. Good job. Like that's it's a pat on the back. I remember one year I filed my taxes. I looked. I was like, "Ooh, I'm gonna get like 3,600." I got a letter like 2 weeks later from the IRS, like, "You have paid $3,600 towards your loan. Good job. Here are other options to continue." And I was like, That's back when I wasn't smart enough not to expect my tax money, right? Like you need to be in a place where your tax money helps you as opposed to you expecting it. Because as soon as you expect it, it is not coming when you need it. Trust
Right.
me on that. Paychecks are the
Yeah.
same way. And you get to like you expect that paycheck on Friday, and maybe there's an error and you get it on a Saturday. That is the worst Friday of all time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yo, all of
That's
a
what your
sudden you
money.
ain't get all of a sudden you ain't got groceries. All of a sudden you ain't got you ain't got no newspaper. All of a sudden you got to figure out how you don't spend gas today. Like all these things because of one day.
Well, like the bank I use now, they do. And everybody advertises. A lot of people advertise this, but it usually comes a day before the normal payday
Mhm.
cycle. You see it in there, and so luckily that's a great thing. So if something happens, you like, what's going on? Then by the time you can get it correct, hopefully get it corrected on payday. But some places it can. What you're talking about is real because you have an error on that paycheck. It ain't gonna get corrected for 2 weeks,
For at
and
least two
maybe
weeks.
a
At
week after,
least
maybe the next paycheck after that,
if it
and it's
was
like,
something
oh
you or your
goodness,
boss did. Now, if it's the bank,
no, yeah,
it's whenever, right? Because
whenever they feel like
let's say you're somewhat wealthy. You're only insured up to 250 grand, right? You got
it. Did they up that, or was it? It used to be 100. Did they up it to 250?
it's
I
it's
can't
it's
remember.
250. I don't know how long it's been
It's
250,
250
but I
now.
know it's
Okay.
250. The only thing about that is like if you got 253 and the bank has an error, they only owe you 250.
Well, I mean, at that point, they want if they want to, they can screw you if they want, but they want to keep your
Right.
money too.
Oh
So
yeah. You got to twist it. But it's like there is more
they want to
money
make you happy more
there's
than
more
me.
money in the bank by definition than what can be withdrawn from the bank, right? So like if we have let's say there's 100 people that got 250 grand in there is not $25 million in the bank.
For sure.
The math says there is. There's not because they use your money too to conduct their own business. They are also loan sharks, right? They're just FDIC insured loan sharks. That's all. If MGM was FDIC insured, I bet you more people had their money there. But
Something I thought would be right up your alley. I didn't know if you heard the news about the latest Microsoft acquisition.
I caught wind of it, but I am not as familiar because all I saw was, "Ooh, Microsoft buys," and then I didn't click it. So
Oh,
what
you didn't?
I did not. Please enlighten me and everyone else.
Well, I'm not. I, I'm not into video games as lightly. I got to Switch. I play
Oh,
some Mario every now and then.
I did see,
But
but go ahead.
you
Please
know what I'm
continue.
talking
I
about,
do,
though.
but
No, you
continue,
can enlighten.
continue.
It's Activision, right?
Yes,
Blizzard Activision,
Activision. Yes.
and the
Mhm.
big, the big dog is Call of Duty,
Right.
and the potential, what's the word? What is that when they
Exclusivity.
exclusivity? Yes,
Yes.
exclusivity.
Yeah, I
Excuse
like
my
the extra
language.
I's and T's in there. Okay. Like the Lakes of Minnetonka. All right, I hear you.
Yeah, exclusive. We'll just go with that. So, what are your thoughts on that as a
Um,
all-in Sony guy?
I am an all-in Sony guy, but I have come to a place with Call of Duty where I do not enjoy it that much anymore. At least not for an extended period of time. It used to be one of those games that I just loved playing, and you go all out. And that was in the Modern Warfare days, a little bit of Black Ops. But as it's gotten more modern, they started adding things to it and taking things away. I found it hard to get into it for an extended period of time without getting mad at it, right? It's like, oh, I'm playing the game for 3 hours. It's like, oh, why didn't he turn as fast as I need him to? Why am I reloading like this? Why is this button doing this? And who are these people that are using aim bots and spamming this room, getting 25 and twos every game?
So have you been long off the campaign? Like you don't even think about the campaign when it comes to Call of Duty?
Well, no, I do, but a thing you'll know about these games, the multiplayer is what sells.
It-
So the campaign
right.
is not very long, like at all.
Okay.
The campaign most of the time is about 4 hours, maybe somewhere in there. So
I always wonder how they determine these hours. These like perfect gamers going through and doing stuff because
no,
their
not
hours are
really,
always,
not
my skill
really.
level is low. So when
Usually,
they
it's
say 4 hours,
supposed to.
it's like it's gonna take me. I'm gonna get 12 hours, 12 to 15 hours of
Yeah.
enjoyment out of it.
No, you
So
can get
slow.
enjoyment out of it, but I think that the timing which they use is usually um, cutscenes and ideal gaming. So,
Right.
like if you were not soaring through the game on a speed run, but sauntering through and passing all the levels in a normal fashion would yield you those times. Not speed runs. Speed runs, of course, are usually a tenth of the time that people say stuff. But I know cutscenes is usually factored into that.
I got
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, what do you think about it? Does it make you want to get an Xbox?
you. Yeah, I'm out the game too far. I'm too far removed. I'm too old. Like I don't know halfway what's going down. World of Warcraft, I never got into. I know it's a big one they have. I think they got. Do they have Crash Bandicoot now? Is that them? Which I know.
Activision might be Crash Bandicoot. I can
I saw
check
an
the book.
article on that, so I thought that was interesting. Like I don't really know what else they. I'm just not into it enough to know what's hot in the streets and what they have and how
Look,
big an impact it's gonna be. But I
says the
thought,
guy who had the Wii first and a Switch, and still has a Switch, and uses
I
all of
mean,
its functions.
number one, I was out the game for the Wii until you gave me the Wii as a gift, which is one of the better gifts I've ever received. I appreciate that.
Oh,
And the Switch, it was just on the fly. Like I was in the store, it just came out recently. Everybody was talking about how nobody could find it or there was no, just wasn't available, and there it was. And I was like, gotta do it. So I did it.
yeah, and you have not regretted it, yes?
No, but I mean, I just don't have time to play as much as I want to, or you know, I'll like I haven't played it like for real in over a year. So it's been just haven't
Okay.
gotten back into it yet.
And you got to a point where you and your wife were playing it too, right? Not a
We
lot,
were
but we were playing like Mario Kart.
we started off with Mario Kart. I think she told me she loved Mario Kart, but I think she loved the Wii version of it with the wheel. I think that
Oh
was
yeah,
her
yeah, yeah. The
version,
wheel, the
and
wheel
then
was fun.
like it was fun, and I don't think she got into this one as much. So I mean, we've been playing some different things. She's got, we do have the virtual, uh, what's it, the Meta now, the Oculus.
Oh
She's
yeah,
enjoying
yeah, yeah.
that.
My
Yeah.
my wife wants an Oculus. I know that's what she wants. You remember from playing with her where she almost killed us all, strapped up in that thing. Uh, but I know because she doesn't. She sees me playing the game and she's like somewhat interested, but I don't think she really wants to play it like that. And she knows me and PS5 are it's like my baby, so she doesn't really mess with that. But I know she would love to have an Oculus, and she'd be in her own world. But I got to put her in a padded room because she'll break everything. She's very
I mean,
aggressive in those games. I'm scared for myself.
you can sit down on the couch in the middle seat, and then you kind of play some, but play a little
No.
lightsaber. What's that called? Beat Saber type of
Oh,
deal.
Beat Saber's fun, but I
Yeah.
she's gonna want to dance. She's gonna stand up and be here with it. She's here, and and here because that thing you don't know where you're at. Yeah, she's. Yeah,
My
she needs space.
mother-in-law was playing on it a couple weeks ago, and she was really getting into it. we had to move. We had to make sure don't go too far.
It
But
is immersive. I'll
she
give
was
you
getting
that. It
into
is
it.
definitely immersive.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, this but yeah, no, that I mean it's interesting, but even the exclusivity doesn't last too long, depending on the games. Like a lot of it is your like satellite exclusivity, which is not the right term, but they'll be on the system alone for 6 months to a year, and then it'll be on both systems. It happens almost
So
all the time now.
forgive me for being out of the loop, but I was reading the article I read was talking about that they would most likely leave the multiplayer, not what you're talking about. The I know the game has multiplayer aspects and has the campaign aspect,
Mhm.
but I think is there a Call of Duty like a general all platform game that they have out that's for free or something like that, or maybe a subscription? You know what I'm talking about? Is is that
Um,
a thing?
I think you're talking about season pass, maybe. No, because
Yeah,
season pass is just DLCs and stuff.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I'll have to look it up. I thought there was a different way to play that they were talking about leaving open.
I know
That was kind of
I
like
know every
generic,
time
maybe.
they drop a new one and they have like free weekends, they usually have multiplayer, and I think they've been doing it where it's been cross platform, or at least they've been talking about cross platform. I know those have been free.
Okay.
But I don't know. I don't know these them because as far as Call of Duty goes, I'm out of the loop on that. I tend to play a lot of local Sony titles, and the only things that I play that are more mainstream are like Madden and 2K. Besides that, I'm not. I'm playing stuff like God of War.
Yeah, I know you love Madden every year. So God of War is on your. What else are you playing? Is that pretty much the
Um,
majority of what you're playing? What are you into now?
yeah, God of War. That Spider-Man game was really good for PlayStation. There was the Spider-Man game, then Miles Morales Spider-Man game, which was somewhat of a, I guess, an interlude because there's a sequel coming out. That's gonna have, I think, Peter and Miles Morales on it, and probably Venom. So that'll be good. So that game was really good for PlayStation. Luckily, Sony owns Spider Man, so it's PlayStation exclusive. But just it just depends on the game. But I'm getting into a lot of games lately that are a little off. I played Returnal. I don't know if you're familiar. Basically, the game you start as this astronaut who crashes on a planet, and she starts out with like no weapons. You're gaining your weapons, and you're killing some aliens. You're going about, but it's designed for you to die and get better at it. It's like a loop, and
Old school style, huh?
right. So, but the thing is, after you die, you come back. The levels change, and it looks different,
Okay.
and like the way you grab stuff is different, and that's really cool because it makes you kind of try to figure out how to play the game by dying, which is cool. And then there's a game called Deathloop, which kind of does the same thing, but it's a little different. And I kind of put that one down for a second because I started getting busy with the podcast, but I'm gonna go back to it. But both of those games are really cool and interesting. Um, what is the other game I was trying? Oh, Horizon Zero Dawn. That game is really good. Um, it's a big open world, like post-apocalyptic humans with machines type of thing. It's really cool. I'm doing a very horrible job of describing how the game is, but uh, anybody who knows, Horizon Zero Dawn is a wonderful game, and I believe there's a sequel that comes out sometime this year coming, as is God of War sequel coming out this year. Uh, and I think that's about it, unless I will. Let me look at my. So, Final Fantasy remake, Final Fantasy Seven remake, because Final Fantasy Seven to me was the greatest game ever made. So when they decided to put that remake on with all the 4Ks and all the upgraded graphics, I've been all over that. So that's been fun and nostalgic. But besides that, a whole lot of Madden, a whole lot of 2K. Um, Taking people's money on Madden whenever I can. Anybody else out there, just hit me up, please.
Yeah, well, you flash your hand over across the
I'm
screen at the
on it.
bottom.
I'm on it. Trust me, I'm on it.
Are you still in the season right now?
Yeah, kind of, but I don't play it as much because trying to produce content. But I'll play like a game a day, basically. Like I'll come home and when I get off of work, maybe I got about an hour, and I'll play a game and I just use it as decompression. I can't really get into it the same way it was like, okay, I'm gonna practice this play, I'm gonna get really good at this play, so when I see this defense, I can run it. Like, I'm not doing that stuff anymore. Like, I'm just playing.
Well, are you in any of your leagues that you were in? Were they ever like once a week where you have games scheduled just once a week, or were they always kind of
No, it
fast
was
where you
actually
gotta
once every couple of days. Is usually how it
gotcha?
is. But usually I tend to be in more than one league, so that's usually how I end up playing a game a day.
I got you.
But no, it's the leagues have always been fire, but like I said, I just haven't had the time for it lately, and I feel bad because I'm doing a disservice to the dudes because they'll be like, "Oh, we got a game," and I'll just show up, and sometimes I'll play really really well, other times I'll play bad because I'm just not into it, and I feel like I'm doing a disservice because I think they're used to me being decently good, and now I'm just kind of hit or miss, and that's just the life I'm living right now. I'm sure if I make any money doing this, I can go back to being mad full time like professional football players do, but I don't.
Right, right. We're going rounders here, huh?
Right,
The
right, right, right. Yeah, man. Are you have you gotten any new games for your Switch?
No, I haven't. Hold on. I did buy a game, but I haven't even played it. We bought a game for my son. We were trying to buy an educational game. I was trying to
Oh,
get him to
Animal
play.
Crossing. Okay, yeah, I heard of it. Yeah.
It wasn't Animal Crossing, but it was something. It was something lame. It didn't. I don't know if I might have missed that joke, but it was something that didn't work out. We spent like $12 on it, and then I think I bought. They had one of those Batman. What are they called?
Telltale?
Yeah, Telltale. There you go.
Ah,
And
nice.
I remember I was watching I was watching the Wolf Among Us. I remember I was watching It's Real 85 plug. He did a great Telltale Among Us little voiceover skit series.
Hmm.
So I think yeah, I got the Batman one. I haven't played it yet, but we were looking on things to buy.
The
I was
Batman
trying to
Telltale has is critically acclaimed, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah. I've seen some things on it. I might even saw some skits with it, them using it. So it looked pretty cool. But
Okay.
I know they break them up. I can't wait to get on the. We bought some games for the VR. The Vader one, I got super
The
hot
Vader
again.
one, I'm really excited for, actually.
Yeah, they break it up and like they're like $10 a pop. So I assume they're doing it by sections or something like that. Haven't played it yet, but we got it. So it was just we're ready. We're ready to go.
You're
We
ready.
get
I mean, you
into it
might as well
again.
get Telltale out of the way because Battinson will be out in less than a month and a half.
Pattinson. You know, wait, say that again?
Yes,
Are you
Battinson,
talking?
as in Robert Pattinson. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, I thought you were alluding to the movie, but I was like, maybe
Yeah.
the
No.
video
Yes.
game.
That
I'm
is
lame
the
right now.
reference of the movie.
Pattinson. Okay, that's his name.
Yeah, that's what
All
I'm
right.
going. That's what I'm going to call
You're not gonna call him Vengeance.
it.
Oh,
No,
that's
no.
just what his lady calls him, Catwoman. Oh, okay,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah.
good to know. Yeah, speaking of that, this gift I got from uh I've been playing with it. It is it has so many articulations that like I've never seen. This is one of these high quality toys. I was looking at it, I was like, everything moves on this dude. You can put him in all sorts of different
Oh yeah,
shapes. I have
everything
to thank
moves.
our
Oh yeah.
buddy for
Well,
that.
that sounds grown, brother. All right. Okay. This is
I
a
broke
family
it out.
show.
I was like, hey, I brought my son. I was like, here, we're gonna play with this a little bit. Then I started looking at it. I was like, nah, this is games.
Did you yell while playing with it? Like, where's Rachel? You give any of that?
No, when I was this close to like, I was like, I gotta get him back into it. I gotta get him, I gotta get him on this Batman. He called. I broke out the toy. He said superhero. I had never heard him say that. He knew. He saw Batman. He knew that's a superhero.
I give him. I'm giving credit to your wife. I don't know why, but I'm giving credit to your wife because some tells me you didn't do it.
I mean, I didn't know, but she didn't know it either. She was like, "Have you heard him say that before? Where did you learn that?" He's a superhero. So okay.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, his dad's a superhero. I guess you gotta do what you gotta do. It's the only way he's gonna realize it. I get it. With your Denzel cap there, that's a superhero type of thing. You look like you could be the equalizer.
Samuel L. He was the king of the Kango. I got to turn
He
around to be
was, but it was a
Samuel L.
black
Though, right?
Kango and it was turned around. Yes.
Yeah, I got
You
to turn
also don't
around.
have them
Right.
them Coke bottle shades either.
Well, it's 30th anniversary juice. I might have to get it.
Is it
On
really?
there. And,
Is it 30 years?
yeah,
Dang. And Friday was like, I think Friday was 25 the other day, like last week,
it's
week before.
possible. I feel like it's around either 94 to 96 somewhere in there. So it's close. It
Somewhere
was
there. It's
96.
just
Maybe so.
yeah, yeah, 90 or 97. But yeah,
90, no,
just
I'm sorry, 97. That'll be a
but
little ways
yeah,
ago.
it was one of those things that reminded me of being elderly. Now it's like we're getting to this point now where everything we think about is I said it. Everything we think about is nostalgic and oldies. Like that bothers me. Like the oldie title for like putting down for the 99 2000, like that bothers me, right? Like that makes that puts me in a place that I don't like to be, right? I was
Yeah,
talking to a friend of mine who is older than us, not by a lot, but just a little bit, and she was talking about a song being old school. The song came out in '06. I said, hey, wait a minute. My heart can't handle this. Okay. I need you to take it down a peg or two. All right.
I get around that by that feeling by listening to songs that were made before we were born. So I feel like it's old school to me, and I still feel good
Right.
about it. It was before I was born,
Yeah.
that sort of
But kids now, our old school, the kids is like Beethoven. And that's very
thing.
depressing. Like to us, Beethoven was like 300 years ago, and it wasn't actually that long. We just act like it. And then they hear stuff like the Temptations is like, oh my God, that's old. Did they have TV then? And you're like, oh God.
But I'll tell you what, I like to. This is the nerdy thing. I like to go to YouTube and like watch old commercials of like the years, like the early '80s.
Mm-hmm.
And when it gets to the '90s, it's a little too current for me. But I just see things. It's like, oh, I didn't know that company was around this time. Yeah, I know they were doing this. Some company's been doing the
Yep.
same old thing for so long. But it's funny to see the stuff beforehand. I watched speaking of the old school, I watched a video or a special on Rick James, and it was some familiar stuff. I'd seen the tour bus stuff, so it was pretty hilarious. But I went on somewhat of a deep dive on his music. I knew the obvious stuff, but I wasn't like, yeah, Rick James is not. He's not for kids. My parents were gonna put somebody away for
No,
kids.
no.
They're not
He is
playing
not
that
for play, as they say.
all the time. But the music though was the man had. I went back into like some of the other stuff. And he was talented. I mean, he's just got some good stuff like the off the single stuff or even the old singles people don't really care about.
Right.
And it was just. So that's why I felt good about myself going older than me. That sort of deep dive, and then I could, I call that oldies. I can still feel like that's oldies before my time. But yeah, it's got some
Yeah.
good stuff.
But yeah, James
He's got
James
some
Ambrose
issues,
went in,
but he's
brother.
got some good
He
stuff.
sure did. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like what did that? You and I like the what was I listening to? Um, Fool in the Street. Those are some. It's like a little disco, a little funk, but you could tell the influences from him to Prince just by listening to that,
Right.
all that stuff.
Him to a lot of people. Like half of the '80s, Rick James is responsible for his influence. Like the synthesizer and the way that they put melody to song. Like that's a lot of '80s that drug induced, obviously, but a lot of that's Rick James all day. Rick James and James Brown, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't act like I hadn't heard his stuff before. He's still crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I would advocate for all the youngins to go down that road, but it was
I
good stuff.
mean,
Good stuff.
we had to learn. We learned at some point, right? Like it's not like we say these things like we were angels till we were 21, right? Never seen a beard so luxurious that you stopped what you were doing, dropped your jaw, and stared in awe at the majestic king who just graced you with their presence. It's fine, we all have. If you're like me, you even want to be that person. And like me, you can. Thanks to the House of Classic Cuts, Black Mango Beard Kit. House of Classic Cuts is a company dedicated to helping you have the beard of your dreams. They have a wide line of products designed to help you get that person-stopping, jaw-dropping beard. Their beard butter helps you soften hair, stimulate growth, moisturize your skin, and keep your beard healthy. And it smells great too, thanks to their signature Black Mango scent. I love using their beard butter myself because that's really all the hair I got left. The top of my head is a little follically challenged. But the hair on my face has grown to be quite the mane, and I'm growing a little attached to it. And because of that, I gotta make sure I put in the things that take care of it, day in and day out. But they also have a wide range of products for men's skin and hair care. Get yourself a bigger, better beard now by clicking the link in my description and using code HOCC at checkout. That's houseofclassiccuts.com. Promo code HOCC at checkout. Don't worry, you won't be disappointed. The House of Classic Cuts is making facial hair awe-inspiring, one beard at a time. It's that beer butter, baby. Like there were plenty of things we were exposed to. Some of them had clouds on CD covers, but there were plenty of things that we were exposed to that people probably wouldn't have had their kids looking at or listening to, and they definitely wouldn't do it now, right? Like I was, what were we, 10 or 11 when Dog Pound came out? Listen to all of that, right? Like,
What? I don't know what you're talking about. I know,
well, I
Dog
did.
Pound. What are we talking about here? Uh, I didn't listen to that. I was 30.
Yeah,
Um,
okay.
no, it's the argument. It's not like you can't have a good outcome either way. But it's just weird. Sometimes, like I don't necessarily want to play those odds. The odds game. That's the question. When do you expose people? When can they take it? Are they going? I mean, how much influence do you want that to have on people? How much will
Right.
you give it?
But
It's
there's, I mean,
balanced.
but also
Consider it.
there's only so much though, right? Because like when we were kids, there was no TVMA. That shit, it didn't exist, right? We didn't get carded to go to the movies. There was nobody stopped you from buying a CD with parental advisory on it or a tape back then. You just bought it.
What they were supposed to.
Yeah,
Wait. I don't know if I'm get your point. Your point is it was less restrictive back then.
it was less restrictive. Yes, yes. Like
I beg to differ, man. How you figure?
all I know is I went to LP Junction and I bought plenty of copies of E 1999, unsolicited and unabated. And I know I didn't really have a mustache till I was like 12. So
Now the music was different. I don't think they started even putting the parental advisory on until maybe mid '90s, maybe early '90s. They
okay,
didn't even put the stickers on before that. So I'll give you that with the music. The music was always pretty much kind of go do what you want. Nobody's really doing that. Look at the movies and stuff. Well,
no,
I guess
no
they
movies
had
either.
PG and they
No,
had R, but you couldn't get into an R movie supposedly unless you had.
you could get into an R movie at a matinee. You could just buy the ticket because like now we don't think about it, but now like people be at the movies, or at least not now with COVID. But in this day and age, people be at the movies even in daytime. We used to go to movies in daytime, and there'd be like 5 people there. Like people just wasn't there, and then they
All
were
right,
there
not that.
7 o'clock or later. So I think people
I
didn't
agree.
care. They're just like, oh, well, he's buying a ticket to make this money. I didn't care.
Oh, okay, but I think it also kind of depends on what kind of movie you in. I think there are some movies where they knew that people. I don't know.
Die Hard.
I guess
I saw Die Hard 2 when I was 7, 8, something like that. And I remember just getting dropped off at the movies. I was down here and I was visiting my grandmother and she dropped me off at the movies and I was in the movies for the day. But the ticket I
I mean, the
bought was for
question is
Die Hard.
why. I'd be trying at that age. I was trying to watch The Land Before Time or something stupid.
No.
Honey, I Shot the Kids.
You like
I wasn't
action
like, oh,
movies.
dang hard, I
Action
gotta get
movies.
in that.
What's wrong with action movies? Like you like action movies
There's
as a kid.
nothing. I liked it when I was older, but I'm just saying I didn't at that time. That wasn't me, but it probably was.
Yeah, you
It's
liked action kids when you were younger. But yeah, but I will give you that too. Like they kind of would look at you a little bit, but nobody really said anything. But PG-13, you didn't get carded at all. Like that just
I
didn't.
don't know. I
Nobody cared because
mean,
you couldn't because most kids didn't have an ID at 13. What are you gonna tell them? You don't look 13,
well, I don't think they have to. It's just strongly suggested.
right?
PG parental guidance suggested, and then PG-13 parental guidance strongly suggested. The R is for restriction. That was supposed
Right,
to be restricted unless you had somebody.
right.
And apparently they only did PG-13. What is it, mid '80s or something? They got that. Like it
Something
usually
like
was just
that.
PG and R. That's
Yeah,
why all those movies, we look back and we're like, that was PG. Well, it was either like, is it enough to restrict people from seeing it?
right.
No, but it might be right up
And
to
it
that
was
border.
basically like blood nudity. That was the only thing that got you up. And even it had to be a lot of it then. Like, and now they got the censorship is like you can have like one F bomb or you can say S, and then like we can keep it PG-13. You say it 3 times, got up the ante. Like what's 3 times in 2 hours, right? Like
Right. Well, I mean, it's still the same rules though. Like, nobody's restricted. You can't. They're not going to restrict you for PG-13, but it's the money thing. Like PG-13, it's the
Right.
soft spot. It's like the teenagers, they're too cool to see a PG movie, so you got to throw one or two so it gets that PG-13. But it can't be R because we don't want to restrict our money. You don't have to, you know, deal with any enforcement whether they actually do it or not. The Batman, it's gonna be PG-13, and
Is it?
yeah, I saw that. And it
God.
looks like
It
it's
looks like
so
it's on the
close to
line though,
bordering
doesn't
on
it?
R. And I feel bad for kind of wanting it to be R because I'm like, now I can see it, but I'm like, the kids are gonna want to see it. I wanted to see the original Batman. My parents wouldn't take me just because it was PG-13. Now they didn't. I mean, that didn't mean I couldn't get in, but they wouldn't take me because they thought it was too much. But I'm saying, like, I want this to be hard, but like, if I'm a young Batman fan, I'm gonna
Right.
be upset that I can't go see my Batman movie because I ain't want to understand why someone wanted to deprive me of that.
Like I just it's gonna have to be the same way that Nolan's was. Like there's probably very little blood. Like
The trailers got it
explosions
looking
and
like it
brutality, but
is.
probably very little blood. Because it looks brutal, but none of those trailers have blood in them, right?
Well,
Like
of course. Yeah.
so it's I mean it's
Apparently, that's the
possible.
trick. Don't show any blood. Cut away, and then we get away with it.
I mean Dark Knight was masterful when you think about how there was like no blood. Like masterful. Because looking back at it, every time I see it, I'm like, there should have been something somewhere, right? Especially how anarchist Joker was. There should have been something somewhere. If nothing else, when he cut up Michael Jai White's face, that should have been it. That should have been the moment where it's like, okay,
But
or
that was also one of the weirdest parts of the scene because it was like we didn't show nothing. It's just like implied. I do
yeah,
that, you die. It's like
and
okay,
but
it looked like you were
it had that John Williams violin string, masterful, right? So you still felt it,
right.
and the comedy of Heath talking about, and now we're looking for aggressive expansion. Like it's fantastic, just fantastic. I'll be watching that again soon, probably. I'm sure.
It's classic,
It is a
classic
classic.
movie. Had to be.
Um, I don't know what else I got for you. Oh, have you checked out Boba Fett?
So I did. We talked about this. You explained it to me. So I watched like the first 10 to 15 minutes. I
Mm-hmm.
basically wanted to see how he got out the pit,
Yeah.
and I watched that, but I haven't watched anything else substance. So I started
No, it's
it,
okay. I,
but
I
haven't
just
got
I
into
just
it
want
yet.
to know if you even gave it a look. But
Yeah, yeah,
but you see what I mean when I say it feels like compared to some of this other stuff, this stuff feels like Star Wars. Doesn't necessarily feel like the movies per se, but it feels like it's in that world. If
yeah.
that
It
makes sense.
definitely feels like it's in
Yeah.
that world. Question to you: you feel like? I mean, are we too? I guess I don't.
You
He's
worry
not a
about
Mandalorian. I feel like we're
oversaturation?
too much oversaturation with this specific the bounty hunters, the Mandalorians or fake Mandalorians, the type of characters. Is he ring
No.
true to the way he was before? He was used to be cool, and now we're bringing him back. And
Yeah.
now what's he trying to be?
Yeah,
So I'm
I
asking
don't
you.
know. I think it's supposed to speak to some form of growth and progression, but at the same time, his story was never a story that was really fleshed out anyway, right?
True.
Like we
Well,
saw
I
him in
think
the Clone Wars, and it's like, oh, Boba Fett's a clone that was babied, right? And then it turns out that he is he is that guy because he pretty much is Django, right? So it's it's to see that he can still grow to that point of wanting to be have some kind of empire because that's what I took from it, or at least a
okay.
little bit, because Django saw that opportunity to be in charge of the clones that were his clones as him having a legacy of some kind. And I don't see this to be any different. Doesn't mean he knows what it is, but you keep looking at him, you're not thinking about it like it's a clone, which I
Okay.
think is the thing that has been impressive about it. But do I think it's oversaturating the bounty hunters? No, because when have we
Remember,
watched
I
any?
mean, he was cloned, but he wasn't. He's not the same as the stormtroopers, right? Because he got to grow at a normal rate.
He
Super nerd alert.
going at a normal rate and
And
was
develop, right?
raised as a child, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Because the other thing too was the the because they were the same rate I thought, but they were all like on an assembly line basically, and they're eating like cafeteria food. Like
Right, right.
if I remember correctly, it was like an orphanage basically. That's how they had the clones.
Your Attack of the Clones references have to be 100% accurate, Ronald, or I'm not coming back to the podcast.
I
You know,
mean, you could just come back with your accurate references. Give your wife an excuse for you to watch it.
I can't even find an excuse to watch it myself. I'll go
I
back and
I,
watch
I
Return
like
of
the
the
fight. I like
Jedi
the fight
before I go
scene
back.
though. The fight scene at the end is great in Clone Wars. I love it.
It's
It's
I don't like any of those fight scenes except for the last one, only because there's too much. uh, They're fighting machines and they have they're weightless and it's not stakes.
yeah.
It
Well,
just
I mean,
seems.
Mason Django, and then and of
Oh,
course
that was pretty good. Oh, you're right,
and then Yoda and
Kenobi and Django. I've
Yoda and
seen.
what's the name? What's his name? Every time I think of
Dooku.
him, Dooku. Every time I think of Dooku, I amalgamize him and Grievous, even though I know they're the same. But they serve as the same type of proxy for all three movies, and so I always put them all like in the same part of my head. But Grievous is
Best part of those movies was the Palpatine scheme. Like that was more clever than
more
it
clever than
deserved
I
to be.
expected. Yeah, no, definitely more clever than I
For sure.
expected. Using Mace Windu as that spot was also clever, because we didn't really know. We knew Mace Windu wasn't something that we knew in 4, 5, and 6, but we don't know that he's not a Force ghost. We don't know that he's not. No, because Mace Windu's just introduced, right? We're like,
Wait,
oh shit,
using him as what? As what? What did you say? Using him as a spy?
no, just as we didn't know what he was going to be.
Oh
That's
yeah,
what I'm
yeah,
saying. No, use him as a well, I keep saying proxy, but use him as a pivot for the turn. Mace
Oh,
was used
yeah,
for
yeah,
that.
exactly.
That's
Yeah,
what I'm saying. Because you
you
don't
know,
know what he's going to be. You don't know how big of a part of it's going to be. He feels like one of them sub main characters. Also he was like the character that gets it. he was like
yeah, yeah.
the audience character, if you would be so bold, right? The one that sees both sides of it and is like, this is good and it ain't great either. Like,
That's how I feel about Mace because
right.
I thought Sam's acting, and I don't know if it was directed like this. It was a personal choice. He probably wanted to be different than everything else he ever done. Didn't want to mess it up. But I hated. He was like just so wooden. So the dialogue was so stilted. Like
I,
like even Sam Jackson. I felt like Sam Jackson could have colored that up, and he kind of laid back because I think he was just happy to be there. He wanted to do
but
what George wanted. Like I can't take the character. I wanted to like the character, but it was just
I thought he was
so
supposed to be
wooden.
like that though.
I know, but I don't like why.
I think the character's painstakingly neutral, and I think that's why he picks up on stuff the way he does. But he lives in a gray area.
He's
He's not evil or good really. He's just kind of just, I guess is the best way to say it.
well,
And
yeah, I'm not espousing his beliefs or his action. He seemed. I mean, I don't want to say he seemed like he was pretty good as far as I'm concerned.
yeah, no, I don't mean like that.
Even
I'm just saying I know you don't like the character. I'm saying I think that's which is what the
no,
character
no,
was supposed to be.
the character choices, the stuff the character does, I'm fine with. His way he talked, his dialogue, and like the style that they did, I didn't. It took me out of it. Like I felt
I
like, why
mean,
is he being so robotic?
I don't know. I feel like
That's what it was.
he can't be Bill Boy from Pulp Fiction in that movie. You know what I mean? Like
I
he can't be
understand that.
that.
I'm not trying
Well,
to
no,
say
no,
he
I'm
has to
saying
be that. Like, I think he tried to go way against type and be like play as straight as he possibly could, but
right.
the dialogue sucked.
And we talk
Like
about
look,
this all
like
the
that
time,
last
right?
scene is great. It's a great scene. We're like, he, I can't
I
even
doubt
remember
I
how that
doubt he
goes.
could ad lib very much.
Right,
George.
but I'm saying like, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying George doesn't yield too much to ad libbing. Like he's like, I wrote this, is what you say, right? And I don't think I think when it comes to Sam, he's probably doing more of an overcorrection than anything because most of his characters are so grandiose, and he's got to fit in George's world because he doesn't look like anybody else has ever been in this thing. So he's like, I'm just gonna do what he wants because George is kind of wooden too. So it's like he said, I'm just gonna do what I want, and Yeah, we're just gonna make this work. I'm Samuel
Right,
Jackson.
right.
I'm in Star Wars.
I've been promised. He's going to let me do something. I got to do something in the second one, and this third one, I get to have a fantastic death. It's just, yeah, he was good. I just,
Right.
I felt like he was very wooden. I didn't like the way he talked.
If it's even a death, there's that. There's that too.
No, he's the evil one. I'm obviously paraphrasing very badly, but just I wish he had a little more personality in it,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
I did hate the way he died. If that makes you feel any better. I
Okay.
hated the screams. Oh, and he went out the window. That was it. Like I felt like it was literally a printout, and somebody took the printout, superimposed it, and they put him here. Yeah, and he went out the window. That was it.
For
So yeah,
sure.
there was that. That was cringeworthy to me, but I accept it because I'm like, Anakin's already cringe. Why not let this be cringe too? Whatever.
Anakin was trying his hardest. I don't know. He just couldn't make it work, and you know, I don't necessarily blame George for him because it seemed like he just needed a different actor. I mean, he wasn't
we
terrible. I'm
I
not gonna
think
say
we've
that.
talked
He was
about this
good.
before. The more I think about it, the more I feel like it works.
Okay,
It gives
I
me
can't. I'm
like
not gonna dispute that.
it gives me the child celebrity vibe where
Yeah, yeah.
you're famous, you're talented, and you're told you're talented from a very infantile state. So you grow up too fast, you're given too much responsibility before you can be a child.
I,
And
I I think that's how it was written.
I feel like Hayden played that better than I give him credit for. Because
I mean,
I think he's supposed to be awkward. I do. Now Natalie Portman, that's another thing. But I think he was supposed to be awkward.
I agree with that. The only thing I don't, I feel like, and that's probably what George wanted, but I feel like we wanted him to be likable to make the turn feel better, and it never got that, so that's why people didn't like it. It was
Yeah,
like
but
a little bit likable.
I think the turn was supposed to be tragic, not you know what I mean? It's supposed to be one of those
Well, that's what I'm saying. It
that's
would
just
be
too
more
bad.
tragic if we liked the person, if we felt something for them.
Not
That's what
necessarily. Like
that would have been.
think about the turn you seen Split, right?
I don't know. The
Mm-hmm. With
is this
James
recent?
McAvoy and the split personalities.
Yeah, there's three movies, right?
There's
Or
three movies,
two?
but Split is the second movie, but you don't know it's a sequel to the end of it, right?
Yes, I did see that. I remember that.
Okay,
Yeah.
so you know, in that movie, he's not necessarily likable, but because you know he has a mental health issue, you feel worse and worse as it goes on, right?
Hmm.
And you feel pity for him. And I think that is the comparison I would give to Anakin, because Anakin is just kind of awkward and he's there and he's supposed to grow up, and this is the only thing he knew about love because it's really the only girl he knew, right? And everything he did was just I don't really know what to do here. I don't know what to do here. And it was one misgiving after another, and another, like, this establishment or society has failed him over and over again because they're like, oh well, he's supposed to be a Jedi, he's supposed to get it. And
I'm not mad at the motivations. I like
right.
George's story process where he thinks it out and tries to give people proper motivations
Mhm.
and put them from A to B and watch progression. That's great. It's always been great. Well, not all- I mean, but I was
Yeah.
it was great. I just feel like the execution, and he might have wanted it that way, but like I feel like the audience didn't was like, okay, we see this, but we want to like this dude, and we're not getting a lot to like him. It's just too, the the
I
stuff
don't
that will put us on
now
board with him
The only
wasn't
thing I
coming.
push back on that is I don't know if we wanted to like him. I think we wanted him to be a badass
Well, there you go,
because that's what he
and
ended up
we didn't
being.
see a lot of that. We
Because that's
saw
what he
that,
ended
but
up
we saw
being.
it,
And I think that's what
of
all we
course.
got was this sad little kid that thought he lost the love of his life and his children in a a guy who was borderline pedophile took advantage of him and put him in a robot suit, right? And was like, let's just harness your power for evil. He's like, well, I don't have anything else. Let me go ahead and do it. Which is just it's just more tragic, right?
I mean, and I think they tried to do that at the beginning
Right.
of the first movie. They tried to make him out to be like, oh, he's grown now, but
Yeah.
we didn't really believe it. We wasn't that was the point. It was
There
like,
is nothing
we see
about
it, but we're
there's
not feeling it when
there's
it's
nothing
real.
about my princess lock that makes me think that you're grown. Okay, you got to cut that off for $8 for me to think that you're a man now. Until you cut that off, you're not a man, Akeem. You're not.
That's right. That's right.
But that's, I mean, that's just, that was just how I felt about it. It was like, this is awkward and it's tragic. This is, as far as Lucas is concerned, he was writing Shakespeare. It wasn't Shakespeare, but he was writing Shakespeare. And this was just a tragedy that just kept rolling on itself, on itself. And instead of us getting this guy who was a badass Jedi, even though he was a badass Jedi, as documented, we never saw it. He was also just this stunted child who knocked this girl up, who just kind of gave in, and now he doesn't have any limbs. So this evil alien dude decides to put him on a respirator and make him a badass in a hood. Have you heard of the Morning Meetup? The #1 community for entrepreneurs, the largest book club in America, where 600 plus entrepreneurs get on a video call every morning, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. Eastern, every morning for the betterment of entrepreneurship. You've heard of it, right? Well, click the link in my description and you can try it for $1. Just $1 for 1 week. And if you don't like it, you can leave. It's fine. But try it. You spent more than that on things you've never used and never will. So take $1 and invest in yourself. Or don't.
Yeah, that's what I was, like I
Right.
said, I'm not disputing that. It's great.
Right. No.
It's like Han Solo, not Han Solo, but
Right.
you know,
Obi-Wan.
Harrison Ford. He was like, you can write this stuff. But we gotta say it. You needed somebody who's gonna be like, okay, but I gotta do it like this
Right.
to get it right.
Right.
And I think he had that. And Hayden wasn't up to the task. He was just young. He's happy to be there, and
Right.
he was eager to please.
Right. And I
So
think Hayden was not at a place where he could expound on the direction he was given. But I also
right.
don't know how much latitude George gave him either.
Well, it's like I think Sam did the same thing.
Right.
Like I
No,
think he was
no,
happy
we're
to be
agreeing on
there.
that. Yeah.
His was different, but Sam was the opposite. He was exalted. He was happy to be there. This is George. You know,
Yeah.
whatever. But
I'm just
anyway,
happy Billy
good
D.
stuff
Williams wasn't the
though.
only black dude. That's the only thing that makes me happy.
Well, there you go.
We can have two tokens. I'm good with it.
Most deaf.
Works every time. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So yeah, man. Just I am hopeful for these Star Wars series. I do not feel like there will be oversaturation because I like that what they started with Mandalorian and this, which is still the Mandalorian because it's kind of just an offshoot of Mandalorian. That it will set the table enough for us to enjoy the Obi-Wan series without over expecting for it.
Right. And I'm looking forward to that. What I want, is a series based on a Jedi where they have some personalities. I feel like the stuff we saw before. And now I haven't seen all the Clone Wars stuff, and that's probably where you
Say,
get.
doesn't Ahsoka have some personality?
Yeah, yeah. So uh, I'm talking from a stance of a person who's not a real fan. So let me put that out there because people are gonna say they're gonna say you're not a real fan because I haven't done all the other stuff. I just have a very limited
Well,
portion which
a
I
lot of us
know
aren't
and
going to do
love.
all the other stuff because all the other stuff wasn't canon until now. So that wouldn't even be fair.
Well, what I'm saying now is not gonna make sense if somebody's watched like the Clone Wars series and all that other stuff,
Yeah,
which I have
I
not.
have
Like
not
it's
watched
right
all of
here.
them
What are you
either. I've
talking
watched
about?
like 2 episodes of Rebels and like 2 episodes of Clone Wars. I know what happens in the Clone Wars, but I haven't watched it. Right,
Yeah.
but I
So
will.
I'm looking at live action Jedi stuff where they're real people and hopefully less robotic and less monk-like than the prequels, kind of show them to be. We get
Right.
some thinking and we get to see their skills at the highest level. That's what I'm looking forward to.
But I
We'll
do.
see.
But to my understanding, there's a certain level of Clone Wars and Rebels that needs to be watched because a lot of this, a continuation of it, that's going to be like, okay, so this is what happened, and now where do we go from here? Like the only thing that's not really continuation of Clone Wars, I think, is the Obi-Wan series because, of course, Darth Vader's alive. right?
Right.
So I think besides that, Ahsoka Tano's series is supposed to be after her appearance in The Mandalorian.
Oh, they're actually doing a series for her.
Yep.
Is this gonna start? Is this
Yes. Yes, it is. It sure is.
okay?
Which is, I believe, why she wasn't up for She-Hulk.
Wait, are we talking about the
Rosario
Rosario
Dawson.
Dawson?
Yeah.
Okay.
So she had She-Hulk rumors at first, and then this was like the same. This is when Mandalorian was getting ready to start second season. People didn't know Ahsoka was going to make an appearance, and then she popped in, and everybody was like, and then all those rumors kind of went away, and then they announced the girl that was playing Jessica Walters. So that'll be interesting. But yeah, that and wait, are you caught up on like all the Marvel stuff? You
No.
said you watched Spider Man yet? Are we still waiting on this Spider Man thing?
Yeah, we're still waiting on it.
I really need you to
Sorry.
watch Spider Man. I really do. Because there's things I would like to talk to you about, and I cannot, and I refuse to spoil that because the movie is too good to be spoiled. I
I
know you
mean,
know
it's
about
already
some
kind of
stuff,
spoiled.
some of it,
But
but you know what I mean. Like
I know
there's
who
still
shows up,
there's
but I don't know the story. So
right. You need to see, you still need to see it. Like it's
okay,
good enough that you need to see it. Like
and
the
I'm going
second
to.
time I saw it, nothing felt taken away from me, and nothing felt as expected. Even though I knew some of the stuff that was happening, I didn't feel like, oh well, here's where they do this. Like none of that happened. I'm sitting here like, yeah, it's happening again.
I got you. I got you.
Yeah, I'm just
It's
out
gonna
here trying
happen.
to solve for X, baby.
All right, sounds good.
Mhm.
That's my assignment. I'm on
All right, I appreciate it. So when we reconvene in March, I'll ask you what you thought about the Spider-Man trailer.
it. It sounds like a plan. Sounds like a plan.
Hawkeye was good too. That's a wholesome one. You and your wife might enjoy that. And there was a trailer for Moon Knight that just dropped. So there's all my geekdom for you. That is
Yeah,
your
I was. Every time these Marvel trailers drop, with these random stuff I've never heard of, the people are super geeked about. I'm just amazed by how much people know about the Marvel.
man.
Like
Marvel was a big deal, man. Like, and not just that. Like,
I had no idea that all the offshoots. Everybody knows. Everyone feels like if you don't, I have no idea what Moonlight is. I don't know what that is, but I'm saying like I, I feel like I should know because everyone else is
because
know.
everybody's
But
excitement. But the thing about
the
Marvel,
Eternal, I'm
and
like, what?
I got to give them credit. DC is great, but the thing about Marvel was always it was always a sense of inclusion and progression that they were always striving for, and they
Give me that.
always had that like in spades, right? Whenever you thought that, oh, this is the status quo, they were like, oh no, we need a superhero that looks like this. We need a superhero that looks like this. Like we need a female Thor. We need a black Spider-Man. We need a black Captain America because people get too caught up in these ideals, and they were on it all the time. I mean, even the things as simple as X-Men being based on civil rights, and Professor X is Martin Luther King, Magneto is Malcolm X, and their ideals match almost perfectly. Professor X is trying to figure out why can't
In a
everybody just
very
get along.
superficial manner.
Yeah, yeah, this is it. But why can't we all just get along? And Magneto was like, you know what? We don't have to do this because we're superior. They just need to make room for us. And that was the basis for almost all of Marvel Comics going forward because they were like, we're going to make sure there's inclusion here. We're going to have openly gay characters, going to have openly bisexual characters, openly trans. Like they had all these things before it was cool, right? And a lot of people thought that it was stuff that was going to get them off the stands, but it didn't happen. And I think Stan and them need to be commended for that. We miss Stan, but he needs to be commended for it because things like that are the stuff that makes things like this possible, right?
Sure,
Where we
sure.
feel like we can have a voice and speak on a medium of sorts that we weren't allowed to be on. We weren't even allowed to be featured on those shows that these people were talking on, right? And now we can create those shows if we want. Like it's a big deal. It's a big change, and I think things like that are important. Of course, Marvel Comics is not responsible for all of that, but
Let's clarify.
right. But these things play a role. right? Inclusion matters, right? Like seeing a black president matters. Like those things matter. It makes it so, we're told as black kids the same as white kids that we can do anything, but we don't believe it because you know the actions in the world tell us that we couldn't, right?
And furthermore, expound upon that point. If you haven't seen it, you don't believe it, but they don't believe you
Right,
either.
exactly. No,
You know,
exactly.
they
No,
and
exactly.
that's why it's so hard for them to accept when it actually happens. Oh,
Right.
yeah, we're still recording.
Yeah, we're recording. No, but this is the right thing to say
I,
though. Like,
I, yeah, I don't know if I want to be that real out here. But point is, and, yes, but you're right. They don't believe it either. That's the point I want to get
right.
out.
They don't,
Not
and
just
but it's so true because like we always say, people will treat you how you let them, right? And if you don't believe that you're something, nobody else is going to either. Because for what, right? If somebody's going to be a door-to-door salesman and they're selling vacuum cleaners, you either believe they're selling vacuum cleaners or you think they're a scam, right? Like that's it's just that simple. And it goes the same thing with personality or anything you want to be. If you decide that you're going to be something, you got to be it, and you got to be it when somebody asks you if you're it or not. And when people used to tell us that we could be anything and we didn't believe it, the one thing we knew we couldn't be was president. That was the one thing we just knew. Well, probably maybe president. Yeah, okay. And what did our uncle say? Nigga get shot the first day. But that's what it was because they knew they wouldn't want it to happen. As soon as it happened, oh, we got to put a stop to this, right? Like that
right, right.
was that was the thinking. That was how we were trained, and things like a president happening like that, like comic books showing superheroes with differences. Those are the things that open us to believe that what, I can go do something, and I can go do something that nobody else has thought of before because that's what makes me unique, and because I can, right? And that chant that Obama had of "Yes, we can" is not to be taken lightly. It's not just like, oh, I can get elected. It was supposed to be more than that. His presidency supposed to be about hope because we knew the next president after him wasn't going to be black, right? We knew that was also going to be an overcorrection, and by
Well,
God, it was right.
yeah, you may have known. I mean, they went with the kind of double minority. Well, I don't want to say minority, but figuratively, the
Right.
black male and the white female. They tried to push it in, and we're very close actually.
They were
But
close, but not close enough. Like they tried to get stuff on him, and all they got was some fake birth certificates. But they was like, you know what? These emails may not mean nothing, but guess what? We're gonna use them anyway, because we can't do this twice. Because she was in his cabinet, she probably gonna still talk to him, so he's still gonna be president. Nope, people are not having that, and there was an overcorrection.
well, I don't know if he was still going to be president. I
And
don't know if
then,
she would allow him to
but
still be
you know what
president.
I
It was
mean,
like
like that.
my
But that's
time.
what people think when they're disconnected. That's
Uh,
what you think. You just think, oh, you friends with them. Oh, so you gonna think like that. You gonna be like that. What, moderate? Because that's what he was.
he might have been on the Supreme Court. That would have been
Woo!
that
Nah, put
that would have been taken
man. Can you
the
imagine that?
greatest.
You
But
can imagine they put Michelle on the Supreme Court. Yeah. Ooh, there'd be some fields burning in the South. I tell you that, and in rural Ohio.
it's just, well, some wouldn't approve. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, man. Oh my goodness. Oh man, I appreciate it, brother. I think that's all we have for this episode of Black with a Dash of. It's getting late, and I'm getting more and more George Jefferson. So I think we need to call this a day. You got anything else for me?
Yeah, rock that Jefferson with pride. Unlike me, hiding with a hat. No, sir.
I
But
am not man
great
enough,
talking to you.
at least not yet.